everybody, and welcome to Poland Daily Travel. I'm Will Richardson, and I must say, you're looking well. In the next series of programs, we'll be going well off the beaten path. We'll be heading north to the province of Kujawsko-Pomorania. There, we'll be following the medieval route of the Jawanza River. The Jawanza River arises near Ostroda and flows west to Torun, where it joins the Vistula. We start our journey in Nowe Miasto Lubawskie, which is on the extreme western end of Warmia. The Jawanza is picturesque and meandering in this particular region. As it flows west, it becomes wider until it reaches Brodnica, the site of a massive Teutonic castle, now mostly in ruins, except for the 54-meter-tall tower. Before we get to Gołąb, we stop for the night at a country house in the middle of the forest. Then we visit with my friend Ivona at the Inter Pares Animal Shelter, which is also located deep in the forest. From there, it's a 10-kilometer drive to Gołąb. Gołąb's picturesque old town and various remnants of Teutonic times are eye-catching. We'll show you some of those sites. This particular journey ends at the Gołąb Castle, perched on a hill overlooking the Jawanza River. Quite an impressive location. I'm sure you'll agree. So there you are, the Jawanza River and its environment. I think you'll agree it's a trip well worth taking. If you like history and getting lost in the countryside and seeing how the real people live in Poland outside the big cities, well, this could well be your destination. This is Poland Daily Travel. I'm Will Richardson. Thanks for watching and hang in there.
Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of Poland Daily Travel. Well, we've talked in previous episodes about the struggle between Prussia, Poland, Kingdom of Poland, the Duchy of Poland, the Lithuanians, the Swedish, all for this area of Poland. And I have to tell you, we've left out one particular struggle, and that is the religious conflict. Because there's one thing is territory, physical territory. Another is the spiritual territory, or the territory of the soul. Now, one of the most famous inhabitants of this town was Anna Vazovna. She lived here right in the beginning of the 1600s. And why was she important? Well, her brother was, in fact, the king, King Zygmunt, who was based, of course, in Krakow. Well, Anna came here because she just couldn't take her brother's fervent Catholicism. You see, she was Lutheran. That's right, that's the Protestant church. Now the church everyone knows as the church, the main Protestant church in Europe, and of course in Germany, in Scandinavia. So this conflict is seen not just in warfare, but even within the royal family itself. So Anna moved here. She felt that here she would be able to express herself and her fervent Protestantism, that is anti the papacy, by being here on the fringes of the Polish kingdom. There were other thinkers here, and she introduced, Anna Vazovna introduced to the court, to her, well, it wasn't the court, but to her own, let's say, her own followers, if you will, because she was an important royal personage. To her own followers, she said, come here and let's talk about God, let's talk about religious subjects, let's talk about science, let's talk about things intellectual. And this became a center for about 30 years while she lived here. Anna Vazovna, a very, very interesting woman. The reason I talk about it in front of this church is because this is not a Catholic church. It's a evangelistic church, which was built in the early 1800s. You can note it's a very, very simple style on the outside. And it's meant, look at the very simple doors, nothing ornate. It's meant to be very, very solemn, very simple, without all the fun Rococo stuff that you see with the Catholic churches. At any rate, That's the story of Anna Lizovna. We're here in Brodnica. There's a lot more to see. I can see in front of me, and behind the cameras, in fact, a pretty amazing little square. And we'll talk about that in just a second. Stay tuned. So this fine fellow sitting next to me is a representation of a 19th century Polish soldier. This fellow looks pretty tired, and the reason he's tired is because he has been fighting a losing battle against the Russians in the November uprising. Because, as I said before, previously, but it's worth mentioning several times probably, over and over, this area was on a fault line between Russian and Prussian areas during the partitions of Poland, which took place from the late 1700s until the end of World War I, 1918. So the Treaty of 1918 actually gave Poland its independence, as many of you will know. So the other thing that's worth knowing is not only was this place destroyed by the Swedish, fought over and by the Kingdom of Poland and others, as I said before, with the kingdom, with anyone who came by, including the Russians and the Prussians. I mean, one of the greatest battles of World War I took place very near at Tannenberg, which is also a name for Grunwald, the defeat of the Teutonic Knights in 1410, the Battle of Tannenberg in 1918. And just after that, imagine, in 1920, just after Poland had had its independence, right in this very town, the Bolsheviks took over for several days. Well, we all know that the Battle of Warsaw is one of the great military victories in the history of Europe. And some people call it colloquially, the miracle on the Vistula. But it's called by various military historians one of the great battles of all time. Well, the Bolsheviks were in this town for several days until they were drawn out. They were driven out at the end of August in 1920. So that's just over 100 years ago. 100 years ago in a few days. So this fella, no wonder he looks so tired and slightly downcast. You see his eyes looking down. He's resting his head on his hand. And the reason is because Poland fought for its freedom for so many years and finally sealed it with the victory in the Battle of Warsaw and driving the Bolsheviks out of Brodnica and other places, driving them back east and securing Poland's freedom, newly won in 1918. This is Poland Daily Travel. We're in beautiful Brodnica on a wonderful autumn day. You have to come to Poland and you'll see that autumn is an absolutely sterling season, beautiful season. I'm Will Richardson. Thanks for watching and hang in there.